Chattahoochee High School and a member of the Student Leadership of Johns Creek program, class of 2021, as well as this year's Georgia Secretary of State Student Ambassador. It is my honor to introduce you to Ms. Liz Hausmann, the Northeast Fulton County Commissioner for District 1, which covers Johns Creek, East Alpharetta, East Roswell, and Sandy Springs. As Commissioner, she has been named the Commission's executive sponsor for economic development policy and has served multiple roles within the state and federal levels. Within Georgia, she was appointed by the Speaker of the House to serve on the House Commission on Transit, Governance, and Finance. She has also been appointed by the Governor to the Fort McPherson Local Redevelopment Authority Board, as well as the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. Additionally, she serves as the Associated County Commissioners of Georgia as the District 3 Board of Managers representative. At the federal level, she has taken on leadership roles with the National Association of Counties. She is currently serving as the chairman of NACO's Transportation Steering Committee with prior service as chairman of the Airport Subcommittee, in addition to serving on the organization's International Economic Development Task Force and Arts and Cultural Commission. Ms. Hausmann resides in Johns Creek, Georgia, and is a huge supporter of our student leadership program. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that lengthy list of things. I guess I don't have to say anything else. You've done it all for me. So maybe we should talk about what y'all are up to. I miss seeing all of y'all in person. Very, very happy to be able to be here with you today. And it's a shame that you can't come down and visit the Government Center and experience things in person. But you know, I'm just really pleased to be here with you today. I also want to thank your fearless leader, Ms. Sanders, for always making sure that you're exposed to Fulton County in a host of ways, and making sure that you understand the differences in the different levels of government. I think it's very important to understand, you know, what your city does, what your state does, what your county does, what your school board does. They're all connected. They all affect your quality of life. They're all very important, but they're different, and they have different duties and different responsibilities. And it's always my hope that as you get exposed to the different levels of government, that something sparks an interest, and that, you know, I wish that I had had that interest at a younger age. I literally was in my 40s before I ever really ventured out of my cocoon, if you will, of my family and local community, and got involved in government to the degree I am now. So, and as I say that, I'm 10 years as a county commissioner. In January, it will be 10 years. I am what I would say the accidental politician. I didn't intend to do that with my life, but thought I would spend a minute just kind of telling you how I did get here. And again, if I had started earlier in my life and planned it, there's no telling what would have happened. And always love to see young leaders that recognize that at an early age, so that you can have a true path or a true plan. My life experience, I think, helped me immensely once I decided to get into or put myself on the ballot, if you will, which really is, if you think about it, a public job interview that you have to go through in order to serve. So, you know, we're in very interesting times, as you all know, politically. Some would say maybe the most divisive in our history. However, you know, you just bear in mind that we're not settling our dispute with duels. We're not going through a civil war, but our country has been through those things in the past. And, you know, our war of words is very significant, and we are divided. And I think the recent presidential election is a very good indication of just how divided we are. And, you know, I spent the morning dealing with the impact of doing a hand paper audit of the presidential election. So we are setting that up now. We will begin that count tomorrow. We're getting everything organized for that as we speak. And, we will be able to say with certainty that the results are what the results are after that count. It may not end it. It may not end it at that point because the either presidential side would have the legal right to ask for a recount. What we are doing is more of an audit than a recount. There was always scheduled in this process with our new electronic ballot marking device system, there was always going to be an audit. However, with the race being so close, 15,000 votes out of 5 million cast, a sampling would have not given a true indication of the results. So it was determined, just because of statistical analysis, that in order to get a true sampling, it would take probably 1.5 million votes to be recounted. That being said, it just made sense to go ahead and do the entire amount of votes. And so that's what will begin tomorrow. It must be completed by midnight on Wednesday, the 18th, in order for the results to still be certified as legally required by the state of Georgia on November 20th. So that's where we are with that. Fulton County is the largest county in the state. We have 800,000 registered voters. We had almost 600,000 votes cast in this election. So it's a big undertaking for us to do this audit. And you're going to see a lot about it in the news in the next few weeks. So. But I want to talk a little bit about Fulton County in general, how I got here. And of course, that does, in my position, bring in politics. It is what it is. And we're talking about strong women, and I love that. I love seeing, young women, mature women like me, step out and step up and let their voices be heard. It's very important that our voices are heard. We're natural leaders. I'm sorry, my phone's ringing. It probably will ring a lot during this. I apologize. We're natural leaders in our homes and in our communities. But it's rare that women step up to put themselves out there for that public job interview and run for office. But it's really important that we do it. And if we don't do it, then the representation that we will have at every level of government is not reflective of our communities or the people that they're serving. So we need diversity. We need diversity of people. We need diversity of thought. And we need diversity of experiences in order to accurately reflect the communities that we live in and that are represented. Once you become elected and become a decision maker, it takes an awful lot of compromise. People don't recognize that. We don't have kings and queens in our country. We have representative government. And that means that you have to talk to people. You have to be transparent in your deliberations. You have to, trust the information that you're given, and you have to be trustworthy in the information you share with the public. So it is a lot of responsibility. And, if I just took a snapshot, and I did this before this election, and we haven't gathered all the data as we're still counting votes, but I took a snapshot of the representation just in Fulton County of women. And I want to share some of that with you today because it's very eye-opening. But currently, decision makers in Fulton County, one level of those making decisions that affect our life. And like I said, we all look at things differently. So 28% is definitely the minority. For example, in Fulton County, on the Fulton County Commission, we have 5 men and 2 women. That's 28%. Same with the Johns Creek City Council, 5 men, 2 women. In the Georgia legislature, in the House, we have 49 out of 180 women serving. That's 27%. In the Senate, 14 of 56 senators are women. That's 25%. In the congressional delegation, there was 1 woman last go around. We've increased that. I think we've got, I better not say, I know there's at least 2. There might be 3 women now that are elected. It may still be 2. But currently it was only 7% of our delegation was women. And then we did have 1 U.S. senator that was a woman. So you can see that there's a lot of room to improve those statistics. And we certainly need to do that. And I hope today that perhaps I might inspire one of you to seriously consider that, because it definitely is my goal. But like I said earlier, it wasn't my plan in life. I was very happy raising my family and, just being involved in my children's schools and their activities and our church. And then I met Bob Fulton. I don't know if any of y'all have ever heard of Bob Fulton. You're so young. Fulton County's not named after Bob Fulton, but he was a commissioner. Actually, he held the seat that I currently have. And I met Bob Fulton in the early 90s, and he encouraged me to get involved, and he put me on a few committees, and really encouraged me to start working to ensure that Fulton County, North Fulton County, was adequately represented, because we were not. Our growth was so extreme that the political subdivisions or lines just really hadn't caught up. We didn't have the city of Johns Creek. We didn't have the city of Milton. We didn't even have the city of Sandy Springs. We had 1 commissioner for pretty much everything north of the river. Maybe, I think he might have even gone down into Sandy Springs back in the day. And so we were woefully underrepresented. We didn't have maybe 2 state representatives in North Fulton. Now we have maybe 10. So you can see the difference. And I hope that your families all participated in the census, because that's how the representation lines are drawn in order to make sure that we continue to be adequately represented. But he encouraged me to get involved, and so I did. I started getting involved in elections and helping candidates and getting involved in the local Republican Party. And, you'll find in life, once you start doing things and you actually do what you say you're going to do, you get asked to do more, and you get asked to do more, and you get asked to do more. And I found myself as chairman after 4 years of the county Republican Party, and always fashioned myself as a worker behind the scenes, helping other candidates, recruiting candidates, looking for qualified candidates. Did not expect to be a candidate myself, but I did end up running for the Fulton Board of Education and won. And from there went to work on starting the city of Johns Creek, and became one of the original city council members before Commissioner Riley stepped down to go to the state legislature, because she had taken the seat from Bob Fulton after he passed. And I decided that with my experience, countywide experience, having served on the Board of Education, that you know, I could do this job. And this is a tough job, y'all. It really is a tough job. We have a very unique county. Um, you know, we're very different, north and south. We have every demographic you could think of in Fulton County, urban, rural, suburban. We have every economic status in Fulton County. We have a lot of geographical differences. We have the major city of Atlanta right in the center, which is the capital economic engine of the Southeast. There's no two ways to look at that. So it's a lot. What we do affects a lot of your quality of life and a lot of your money. We have about $1 billion that we decide how that's spent every year. So, you know, we're making a lot of decisions that affect your quality of life. And so I guess I should probably tell you a little bit about what Fulton County does. And I did have a slide that had some of those things.
I will be sharing my screen for that.
If you would like to. I wasn't going to go into every single thing we do, but I did think it might be important for folks to see what we actually do with your $1 billion.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah, keep on going till the, that's our commission. You might want to go back to that, and you can see that we only have a couple of women. Go back one more slide, please. One more. There we go. That's the current county commission. From left to right, Lee Morris, Bob Ellis just got reelected. He represents North Fulton, and Lee Morris represents Sandy Springs. Natalie Hall is the commissioner from primarily Atlanta. Rob Pitts in the center is the commission chairman. He represents the entire county. Then that's me. Joe Karn next to me represents South Fulton. He took the remaining term that was left after Commissioner Emma Darnell passed last year. She served for over 26 years, and he just ran for re-election and was not re-elected, and will be replaced by a female commissioner. And then Marvin Arrington is next to him, and he also represents a portion of South Fulton. Next slide. This is the list of the main things that we do in Fulton County. I mentioned elections a moment ago. Of course, we are still heavily involved in elections, and we will be for months with the results of the presidential election notwithstanding. We are going to have the eyes of the nation and the world on Georgia as we have the runoffs for the 2 Senate seats that will determine the balance of power really in Washington, D.C. between the president and the legislative branch, and that will be in January. But we do a lot of things. I mean, your water services come from Fulton County. You've already talked to one of our judges. You're going to hear from our new district attorney, which is exciting to have a change in that office. But we do your library services, your health services, and that includes mental health, emergency management services, which include routine things, and that it also includes things like when we have major events in Atlanta, such as the Super Bowl. Fulton County is the agency that coordinates all of that. We are the biggest funder for arts in the state. We devote $5 million annually to arts and culture, more than City of Atlanta does and more than the state. We focus on economic development. And then we do, of course, your property tax valuations or appraisals and collection of those property taxes. So there's a lot that we do in Fulton County, which is very different than what the city of Johns Creek does for you and what the state of Georgia does for you. Next slide. This is just a glance at the revenues and our expenses that we have. This was in 2020. We are entering our budget season now for the upcoming year. And we will have more money in our budget this year. And we also, next slide, please, because of COVID, hang on, there's something in there, guys. Because of COVID, we did receive in Fulton County $500,000, excuse me, $104 million. I'm very tired this morning, I'm sorry. $104 million in relief money for the impact of COVID. And this is just an outline of what we did with that money. Most of it went to support folks with rent assistance, food assistance, housing assistance, economic relief for small businesses in the form of loans and grants. We've spent an awful lot of money on our health department, which Dr. Paxson will go into detail with you shortly. And if I'm running out of time, just please give me some kind of sign to cut me off, because I could probably talk forever. And then operational stability, just to keep everything going, was expensive. We had to, of course, make sure that the safety and health guards were put in place, which we did. And then we also had to support our cities. We were unaware of that when we started into COVID, but we worked with our cities, and 25 million of the care relief that we got from the federal government was allocated to go to the 14 cities in Fulton County outside of Atlanta. Atlanta got direct money because of their population. The breakdown was that 500,000 I mentioned earlier. Every local government in the state that had a population of 500,000 or above did receive direct funding. Next slide.
So Ms. Hausmann, we have about 5 minutes left in this presentation.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if you don't mind answering a couple of questions we have.
Yeah, let me see if there was anything else I wanted to tell you. You can go to the next slide and just leave that on if you want, because this one's important. What we have done in Fulton County since all the cities have come online is really tried to work hand in hand with our cities and our federal partners. This is just some pictures of some of those meetings. And we accomplished a lot. We managed to do a sales tax for transportation projects, that each city manages their own transportation projects. We developed a transit master plan. So, you know, a lot of the conversations that we had as a group with our commissioners and our mayors, you know, the important issues that we all shared, we started working on. And so that's where those two initiatives came from, because traffic congestion, of course, affects everyone. And then I'm sure you may have heard or read that there was some tension between the cities and the county about the relief money for COVID. So that, I think, unfortunately got us off track a little bit with those relationships that we had really done a lot of work on. But I think we're getting back on track in that area too. And hopefully once the pandemic subsides, so will any tension that came from all that will also subside, because we do have a lot in common and do need to continue to work together. But now I'm happy to take questions.
Okay, so this is like a question that our student ambassadors were all wondering. So the COVID-19 pandemic has been a main point of concern for Fulton County residents for months, especially as many were preparing to vote last week. What were the major challenges of the county running an election during the pandemic?
Oh my goodness. How many of you tried to vote in June? During the primary, was very difficult for us to do the elections. It was very early in the COVID pandemic, and typically poll workers are senior citizens, a lot of them. And of course, they're in the target group that are concerned about catching COVID, and a lot of them just weren't comfortable working the polls. And then a lot of our polling locations were in churches. Churches were closed. They did not feel comfortable opening up to have the public in those facilities. So we lost a lot of polling locations as well as poll workers. And so we had new voting equipment that the poll workers had not been able to do in-person training to learn how to use the equipment. So we literally had what you could say is the perfect storm of problems. We're not proud of that, not proud of it at all. But we did regroup and worked really hard with the Secretary of State's office. And again, counties run elections, state oversees it, but counties, all 159 counties in this state run their own elections. So ultimately it is our responsibility for Fulton County. We, I think, vastly improved this go round. We added 91 precinct locations back. So we didn't have these mega precincts with 5,000 folks in them, all trying to vote on one day. We were able to give proper training to the poll workers. And we, of course, had all the PPE and safeguards in place at the precincts. And we recruited a lot of younger poll workers. I know I reached out to Ms. Sanders to see if any of you would like to work on election day. I don't know if any of you did, but we were hoping that, you know, we would recruit a younger pool of poll workers, and I think we were successful at that. So it was a big challenge, and we've got to do it again for the runoff, and I think we can handle it.
Thank you. And handling an election is already so complex. Adding a pandemic to that would have just messed up things on so many different levels. So another question our ambassadors had is if people who turn 18 before January 5th can vote in the runoff elections.
If you're 17 and a half, 16 months before the election, yes, you can register to vote. The deadline is 30 days before the date of the election, so that I guess would be December 4th or 5th, depending on what day of the week that falls on. But absolutely, you can vote.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Hausmann, for your time. We really appreciate it, and your insight was greatly appreciated. We would like to transition to the next person who will be handling this. So thank you, and I would like to get a quick picture.
Sure. Okay. I may hang around and hear what my colleagues have to say.
Of course. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Please do stick around. So Omer, you're